When you think about your favorite TV show, it has to start off great. Otherwise, why watch it? And then there's some episodes that are like, that was okay. And then there's some like filler episodes, but they're needed to tell the story. But then you have your one episode where you're like, that's this comic. My name is Dorian. This is STM Comics. We are continuing our coverage of the Fall of the House of X with number 2. So our story starts off on the balloon, and this is the only calm page in this whole comic book. After this, it is non-stop action. And also to take a good look at the balloon, because they ain't never going to be the same again. You got Bargain Bin Sinister. He's talking to MODOK. So he's pretty much about how Phelon cut out on him to go kill Tony Stark. If you want to know what he's talking about, all you gotta do is look up Iron Man number 15. Eventually, we're going to cover that whole run of Iron Man on the channel. It's just too much stuff to cover right now. So then he goes to MODOK and he's like, and then the mutants threw some kind of space junk at us, but the deflector rays should be able to, take care of that. So make it so, MODOK. And he was like, look, the deflectors are working just fine, but that thing is still coming. And then Bargain Bin's like, you know what, put that troublesome object on the screen. And all you see is Polaris, who is studding like her daddy, bringing the big, huge celestial head of nowhere straight to him. And to Bargain Bin's credit, he calmly says, that looks irksome, because the dude on the control panel is like, oh my god. So then MODOK's like, the power of Polaris plus the overwhelming mass of that celestial head is going to surely overwhelm the Bloom shields. And then Bargain Bin's like, how much time do we have? And all I hear is a wha-boom. So that means no time. So Bargain Bin's like, kill every mutant you see. Problem with that is they're not going to be dealing with mutants. Oh no. They're dealing with something a hell of a lot worse. And we see on the next page that Polaris has learned a lot from her daddy, because she's got the celestial head and she's controlling it and she's making it chomp down on the Bloom. So then the book says that there's a NASA satellite that sends a feed to a whole bunch of classrooms around the world. So a lot of kids get to see this going on right now. So Polaris goes into the Bloom and she's like, you can run. You know that, right? So then they decide to start shooting metal bullets at her, which is not a smart idea. And then they're like, she's invulnerable. And she goes, how observant of you. So then one of them goes, she got to drop that force field sooner or later. And when she does, hit her with the Blythesville rounds. I guess they're non-metal rounds, I'm guessing. And she just goes, to me, my brood. Which they are damn near the definition of an invasive species and a lot worse to deal with than mutants. And one soldier goes, oh god. And all I was thinking to myself is, he can't help you right now. You about to go see him. So then one of the soldiers is like, switch to the anti-mutant rounds. Keep firing. And Polaris is like, what did we learn today, gentlemen? And then she comes out and goes, firing metal at the new master of magnetism has poor results. Now, I know we're covering the resurrection of Magneto, but I hope they keep Polaris just like this. So then Polaris grabs one of the soldiers and goes, where is the clone of Sinister's? Where is Dr. Stasis? He and I have a date. Man, she's cold. He might as well get this dude a piece of cheese, because he is ratting out Bargain Bin. He's like, he's aboard. I just seen him running from the command deck. So then we cut to outside the Bloom. There's an Orchis ship trying to come back, and they're trying to radio in. Nobody's responding because, everybody's getting eaten right now. And I guess the commander of the ship, he's like, there's no response, lads. I guess we're on our own. We could turn around, but I never ran from a fight. Don't worry, your record's gonna be perfect because this is gonna be your last one. So he's like, those are pure-blooded humans under threat on that station. So all right, listen up. It's gonna be a hot landing zone on the Bloom. The X-Men threw some kind of haunted skull at us and it has some kind of bioweapon inside. So then Wolverine starts laughing. He goes, what do you think is so funny? And then he goes, maybe we should just airlock this runt that Bob found. So Bob's like, and miss out on the cash that Dr. Stasis has on this dude's head? I don't think so. So one of the soldiers is like, sir, Bob is like a half a foot smaller than the dude that captured Wolverine. And then the big dude's like, I am also a Bob, bub. So then Wolverine just rolls his eyes and is like, I told you this wouldn't work. So then Colossus rips out his Orchis suits and goes, your plan was to kill your way onto the Bloom. And Wolverine's like, it would have worked. And the Colossus is like, but sneaking on and killing our way off is smarter. So on the next page with blood all around Wolverine, Wolverine's like, I'm finished sneaking, Pete. I'm gonna finish this the only way I know how. And then Colossus is like, where's Nightcrawler? And Wolverine is like, he teleported into the hold. And all of a sudden you hear, bamf. So it smells like farts. And he goes, I'm here, but I'll be right back. And hear another bamf. And he teleported this dude outside in space and then bam, back in there. Now, Nightcrawler is religious as religious gets, and if he's murking Orchis agents, you know these dudes are done so. So the Nightcrawler's like, I'll search for Firestar, and then Wolverine's like, I got a bad feeling about her. Colossus and I search and destroy. And Colossus is like, we're docked, get behind me. So then the doors open and the Orchis agents are firing on X-Men, but they're like, X-Men, stop. You could come on without a fight. We just went off this madhouse. And all you hear is somebody go, I'm afraid you missed your last stop. And then the Brood come in and devour these dudes. And then Colossus is like, did I miss a meeting? We deployed the Brood? And Wolverine's like, they're under the control of Brood. I trust them. And Nightcrawler's like, they're under control until they're not. So then all you see is Polaris with a caramel macchiato, because he looks like a caramel macchiato type of person. And she goes, hello boys, no, the Brood were not part of your cute little plan that you made in the Morlock tunnels. But we're improvising ever since the plans got moved up. And by the way, Orchis coffee's a maybe it wasn't a caramel macchiato. She goes, I'm here to kill Stasis and Firestar. What are you doing? So the Nightcrawler bams inside of Polaris's force field, so now her force field smells like farts. And the Nightcrawler's like, great minds, but actually Firestar is a double agent. Jean implanted memories into Stasis' head before she died. And Polaris goes, that's the most Jean thing I've ever heard of. Everybody says that. So then she goes, fine, I'll hold off on destroying this space station until Firestar and any other civilians are off. Then I'm gonna drop kick this whole thing into the sun. And you best believe she means it. Then she goes, who's saving Krakoa and Cyclops? So Colossus is like, one Rue, one Ranger. And Wolverine's like, Kate's bagging Slim. And then we sent, and then Colossus cuts him off and goes, we're spread too thin. Wolverine's like, they're both in trouble. Hell, we're all in trouble. So on the next page, we have Emma, who is telepathically talking to everybody. And she goes, okay, darlings, the beautiful voice you hear in your head is the White Queen. I'm in New York walking the dogs before we put them down. With two Orchis agents who think they're dogs now. And she goes, now that the bloom is being uprooted, we can talk about reinforcing the world. Shadowcats in Paris backing up Cyclops. And we still have X-Men on the wreck Orchis station. Do you need assistance, Logan? And as he's stabbing into this Orchis agent's back, he goes, have I ever? She goes, I was just being polite. And in the western part of the United States, our nation is literally on the run. How goes the rescue of Krakoa? And on the next page, we see Krakoa actually got caught and is being held by some Sentinels. And then we see the Juggernaut come out of nowhere with one of Cable's big, huge guns and starts attacking him. So then he blasts the Sentinels and then he frees Krakoa. So then he goes, I got Krakoa, but we can use a lift. But then she goes, stand by, Mr. Marco. One of my husband's deadly contraptions has found me in New York. And if you notice, that Sentinel just took out those Orchis agents. So that was some friendly fire. So while she's fighting the Sentinel, she goes, Rogue, Gambit, can you pick up Juggernaut and Krakoa? So the Rogue's like, this is all terrible. This is all going to hell. So the Gambit's like, you know that secret that Destiny didn't want you to tell me about? And Rogue's like, yeah. He goes, maybe it's time we pull that ripcord. So then they jump out the Blackbird, and then Rogue's like, Emma, we're sending the jet back to you on autopilot. You're going to need to send somebody else to help Krakoa, and Remy and I have a mission. So Emma's like, Rogue, this is not the time to break ranks. What could possibly be more important than this? So then somebody frees the Sentinel, and all you hear is, it's okay, Emma. If Rogue says something needs to be done, then it must need doing. And she's like, I'm very glad to see you, Iceman-powered Sync. So the Sync's like, we got Stasis trapped in orbit, so now we need to neutralize some higher value targets down here, like Myra and Dr. DeVoe. So then we switch to the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters. Back to the mansion. And then Rogue's like, I had to hide Manifold away. I'm not even sure why, but Destiny was positive mutants had no shot without him. And then Gambit's like, he's going to be pissed. So the Rogue's like, yeah, but Destiny was for sure the villains wanted Manifold, like he was the most important thing. But yeah, the way I did it, he's definitely gonna be mad. So the Gambit's like, putting him in stasis and a Krakoa in no place is like deleting him from the universe. So then they get him out and they try to talk to him calmly, and he goes, oh my god, the stars. Have I been on ice? So the Gambit's like, yeah, but a lot's happened since you've been sleeping. Rogue's like, you were a high priority target of Orchis, so we had to stow you away. So then he blasts Gambit with his powers. He goes, you kidnapped me. You buried me like a corpse outside of time. So he just cold cocks Rogue and he goes, you're an X-Men. You're supposed to be the best of us. So then it's like, by the goddess? And then we see it's Destiny wearing a Rogue mask somehow. And then she's like, the future was unwritten without you, Manifold. So then he goes, I've been a little cranky after waking, but now that I'm awake, I'm dreaming. Isn't that right, Latuka? And she takes off the Destiny mask and goes, hello, little brother. Man, I have missed some. If anybody in the comments wants to help me out with this, I definitely appreciate it. So the manifold goes, we're in some deep shit, I suppose. And Latuga goes, these two mutants were sent by someone that's less adept than you and I are. They have a crude understanding of the universe, but they did what they needed to do. They protected you from what was going to happen that would have ended you. These X-Men succeeded in changing your destiny. Now, I will see you again. So then all of a sudden, all you see is Gambit goes, so trust us, it was for your own well-being. Is he even listening to me? Then Rogue goes, as anyone? That was cold. So then Rogue's like, do you hear those jets in the background? And the manifold's like, it's okay, you two. I understand what must be done. And we must go where we're needed. And they disappear right before a signal comes and smashes all three of them. Now, for those of you guys that aren't familiar with Manifold, he is like Nightcrawler as far as a teleporter, but on like a universal scale. Like, the dude can teleport anywhere in the universe. Actually, he can go from galaxy to galaxy with no problem. And he can teleport a whole bunch of people with him, like several hundred people at once. So that's why Orchis wanted to take him out. So now we cut back to the Bloom, and this is my favorite part of the whole book. Bargain Bin must have ran cross country when he was in high school because he is hauling ass away from Wolverine. And he's like, you can't kill me, Logan. If you do, you'll never see Firestar again. Then he starts laughing and goes, go find something else to stab, you unctuous varmint. Gerry Duggan must have been a Yosemite Sam fan because that's not the first time he used the word varmint with Wolverine. And since he's in the escape pod, he goes ahead and ejects himself out as he laughs all the way in space. So then Wolverine's like, damn it. And he goes, hey Emma, rip off Sinister just left for Earth in the escape pod, so get some eyes on him. And then he gets zapped from behind by MODOK. So the MODOK's like, I admired you mutants deploying the Brood. Well played, well played. It was well played. So then he leaves the space station. He's like, last time we met, you survived a crash at space station. Surely it will be easy for you to do it again. And he rolls out. So the Nightcrawler's like, how are we gonna find Wolverine in this mess? And the Polaris like, don't worry, I can feel his adamantium bones. So then she tells Brood to get the Brood out of there, go back to nowhere because she got it in a stable orbit. So that the Bloom is crashing down to Earth. So then Colossus is like, I couldn't find Firestar. Then Wolverine's like, Stasis was gloating about how he has her, but he could have been lying, she could already be dead. Then Polaris is like, we'll find out the truth once we find him. So then we cut to Omega Sentinel, and she's with Cyclops, and he is beat up. And she's like, we don't need a public execution, you just need to die. And she has a sword behind him, and she's about to cut off his head, when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Dr. Karen shows up and hits her with an EMP. Now, she just did a good thing, so maybe I shouldn't be calling her Dr. Karen, but she needs to do a little bit more before I change her name. So the Cyclops is like, Dr. Gregor, what do I owe the pleasure? And she goes, what you said to me in prison, I think we might have a problem with a secret part of Orchis. There's a part of the organization I haven't been able to access ever since my husband and I brought Nimrod online. She's like, there's a huge amount of resources that have no oversight both on Earth and in space. Tell me, what do you know about Sentinel City? As we see Nimrod break out the amber that Krakoa put it in, and then he just disappears. Like I said, from start to finish, none but action.